get my 6. So what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Homesteading Off the Grid. As you can tell, as it says right there in the title, I'm pregnant. I've even got my maternity shorts on here, see, with the stretchy things on the side. So bear with me. Might have to take spontaneous breaks here and there to seek out comfort. This is not comfortable. I know you're like, dude, you're a dude, you can't be pregnant. Listen, during the duration of this video, I'm going to show my overwhelming 100% support for anybody, regardless of gender, who wants to identify as being pregnant. Go for it, brah. Okay? So that's what I'm doing in honor of you. Now, why am I doing it? Well, there's a reason. But I got some stories for you today. A few more stories, all associated with the paranormal, supernatural. There's a Bigfoot story in here too. Well, kind of one story about 2 experiences. One in the Adirondack Mountains of New York and one at Monkey Mountain over in Missouri. State of misery. Daggone gnats putting me in a state of misery. Here I am, all identifying as being pregnant, and you're freaking bugging me like crazy. Did I bring any? I don't have any bug spray. All right, so listen, if you've got a story associated with anything paranormal, supernatural, cryptozoological, like this guy and or girl, submit it to the channel. The email address is crazylake@mail.com. If you're new to the channel, you're probably wondering why the hell they call me Crazy Lake. I don't know. I don't think I'm crazy. I just think I kind of have a sense of humor, which isn't so cool to have anymore. So, couple of administrative things. Where's that book? I got to show you this book. Now listen, get my 6. The veil is growing thin. It's almost Halloween. It's going to be here like this. It's going to be like 66 days from now. So, I mean, there's like ghosts and stuff everywhere. Watch for them. Excuse me while I go find this book. I got an administrative update for you. What the hell was that? I tell you, it's getting creepy around here. All right, administrative update. As you know, if you're one of the couple thousand people who watched my bomb of a video yesterday, which I really enjoyed making, and I don't care about the numbers anymore, then you know that October Nights, Part 2, 31 More Tales for the Halloween Season, is now available in print or Kindle on Amazon, or if you want an autographed print copy, from our Etsy store, the links of which are in the description box below. And again, just a reminder, we will not actually have these to autograph and mail out to you until approximately September 3. We put 50 available yesterday. I ordered a batch of 50. I think there's like 18 left or something. Like, they've almost sold out in the first day. So if you're one of those more than 20 people that have it in your cart, you might want to either crap or get off the pot, because they're going quick. But a lot of you are ordering this one and part 1 because you didn't read it. So look, my totally awesome administrator, page or channel administrator, Erie, told me to do this. I don't know why I didn't think about it, but look, both of these, part 1 and part 2, will fit in these flat rate padded mailers we use, flat rate priority mail. So you can now go on there and buy both. Just please keep in mind, you do have to wait about another week or so before they're going to be sent out to you, but you want to get your order in before those more than 20 people decide to crap or get off the pot. Okay? Now, this is uncomfortable. All right, let's get to some stories. I'll deal with this pregnancy thing here in a little bit later. Okay, I'll tell you as we go along, because I know you're here for the stories. Okay, the first one, the one I alluded to already, Tales of the Adirondack and Monkey Mountain Bigfoot. And we were given permission to use a nickname, Bobby D. And Bobby D submitted this story a couple of weeks ago. Erie just now got around to editing it because there's so many stories coming in. Man, I had a snot rag. Where is it? Here it is. Don't worry, I'm not going to blow my nose. It's just, this is uncomfortable. I'm a little under the weather. I got to, excuse me for a minute, get my six. It's getting creepy around here. Ugh. Okay, why would anybody want to identify as this? Just freaking uncomfortable. All right, dear Kevin, I grew up, I'm gonna block your view in case that ghost comes back. I grew up on a dairy farm at the foot of the Adirondack Mountains. Every day I would go through pastures, a total distance of about 2 miles, to collect the cattle for evening milking. I have smelled foul odors while on these treks, but I had never spotted a Bigfoot watching me. Although sometimes, more than not, I would get the feeling of being watched. I was fearless and quite the tomboy when I was younger, so nothing really got to me. One evening, as I was heading to the house, when I was a half-mile away from the barn and ready to have supper, I happened to look up once I'd reached the driveway and I saw my grandmother coming around the back corner of the house. No doubt she had been collecting fresh vegetables out of her garden for our evening meal. I was coming up the long, 50 feet long sidewalk when I spotted a huge creature come out and engulf my grandmother in its arms. It was at least 12 feet tall and covered with long black hair. It was very muscular, with very long arms and legs with huge feet and hands. It had her in a bear hug from behind, so I could not see her at all where she was standing. I started running immediately, yelling at this creature to let go of my grandmother. As I ran as fast as I could, watching my steps, I looked down, then up, and it had vanished. When I got to my grandmother, she was frozen in place. I kept calling her name, and when I touched her arm, she must have jumped about a foot in the air. Finally, she looked at me, but the look on her face told me that she was terrified. I took her by the arm and told her I would take her into the house. Gram would not even speak to me. I got her a glass of water and grabbed a shotgun and went back outside. As I searched around, I could smell something but did not see it. I dared not fire in the air because my grandfather would come running, as he used to be an avid hunter. As I searched, a feeling came over me that told me to stop where I was. So after one more scan of the perimeter, I went inside. My grandmother would not talk that night and would never discuss what had happened to her all her remaining days. When I tell you that this creature was a very huge Bigfoot, please believe it was, and that they are out there. I have seen numerous shows from the History Channel on YouTube about the Adirondack Bigfoot. I now reside in Missouri, in a small college town close to Monkey Mountain. Wonder how it got its name. You know, they don't name their names on accidents, brah. Think of that as I read this. Monkey Mountain. One night, I stepped outside to enjoy the evening air and moonlight when I heard dogs barking very frantically. Then I heard something coming through the woods, knocking down trees and making an awful noise. As it walked madly through the woods, it left a huge path behind it. I ran in the building to get my friend to witness this with me. I came back out, and you could see and hear trees being knocked down with whatever was doing it, leaving a path about 6 feet wide. The woods were dense, so we didn't spot it, but you could see and hear it by just standing there, and you could tell what was happening. All in all, it destroyed a path of trees for miles through the woods behind our building. My friend went hiking the next day and described what I have told you here. I know this creature was from another Bigfoot clan here in Missouri. Too bad that we didn't get a visual, but maybe it was better that we did not. Thank you for all of your hard work and research. Also, I enjoy the stories from you and other viewers very much. Be safe out there. Please do not use my real name, but you can use my nickname, Bobby D. Thank you. Sincerely, Bobby D. Bobby D, thank you for your story. I got a few more of them here for you, but you'll have to excuse me for just a second because since I am pregnant, I am having these wicked ass cravings like I've never had before. And believe it or not, I'm freaking craving carrots with Worcestershire sauce. Seriously. So give me just a second while I go down there to the house and get a carrot and some Worcestershire sauce. you see that? What the hell is going on around here? The daggone veil's getting so thin. It's getting close to Halloween. That's what's going on around here. Y'all thought I shook it off? I mean, right hit the spot. You know, people comment on my videos sometimes. This guy's a terrible actor. You need to go back to acting school. Let me tell you what I know about staying in character. I just shaved before I came up here, as you can tell. And I guess I have a couple of little nicks on my right cheek. And I just sprayed Worcestershire sauce in it, and it hurts. Very bad. Lee. You can't tell though, can you? Because I'm staying in character. And guess what? I never even went to acting school, brah. Alright. Excuse me just a second. Oh my voice, that hurts. Tell ya, veil's getting thin. Alright, another story. A couple of them. We were given permission to use the name. Ann Pearson. Thank you for your story, Ann. Coming at you now. Living in a haunted house and a tale of the Sykesville Monster. Who remembers the Sykesville Monster from the 70s out in Colorado, I think? Okay. Hi, Kevin. I actually can tell you that I grew up with ghosts. You keep getting my 6. I'm telling you, there's one up here. We moved from Colorado to Sykesville, Maryland in 1970. This is what happens when you do proofreadings at 4:30 in the morning and then you wait another 12 hours to come out and make a video. All right, so the Sykesville Monster's in Maryland, but she moved there from Colorado. I was 10 years old at the time, and we moved into an old farmhouse built in the 19th century, which would be the 1800s. Yeah. No. Yes. Which was located next to the state forest and reserve. We were there until 1979, when I was 19 years old. I have to say it is relevant to include the fact that our family was extremely dysfunctional, and there were, I believe, psychological issues going on with my father, who was retired from the Air Force. Welcome to the club. I remember seeing, from time to time, smoky substances floating around shortly after moving into the house. My mother reported, while doing the laundry in the basement, seeing a Civil War soldier sitting and staring past her. Eventually, through the years, the events we experienced became more violent. My father heard conversations between people late at night, and sometimes loud banging on the bedroom door. One time he reported that an unseen force thrust his knee up to his chest. I would hear my name being whispered throughout the night, every night. I would hear sounds of chains being dragged across the outside porch at night. One time, both of my parents saw the back door being shaken so hard that the hinges almost broke. Our dogs became more and more aggressive with frequent fighting. My father suddenly and unexpectedly died from a heart attack while he was at work one day. That's when everything changed. The house suddenly seemed airy and brighter. For the first time in 10 years, there were no sounds, no banging, no whispers, nothing. It's as if all of the paranormal activity we'd been experiencing came to a complete stop. After my father died, my mother told me that my father had claimed to hear a voice whispering to him one night, "You are going to die." It said other things, but he'd been unable to make out the rest. After the funeral, we entered the house and saw all of his vitamin bottles placed in an odd formation on the table. We viewed this as if the force in the house had made a check mark of sorts, as if it had checked my father off its list. Also, during the 70s, there were news stories coming out about the Sykesville Monster. Several people in town saw what looked like a Sasquatch in the vicinity of densely wooded areas. I did see after the incident of the door shaking off the hinges, almost off the hinges, a huge footprint in the garden just outside the house near the door that had shaken. The footprints were approximately 11 inches in length. Was this thing in any way related to the events in the house? I don't know, but I will never forget. P.S. You can Google Sykesville Monster from the 1970s to see the stories. Thanks, Kevin. Hope you're well, and I wanted to share what was a big part of my childhood. Ann Pearson. Thank you, Ann. So see, everybody comes at me. This dude's crazy. He thinks he got, potentially, think maybe Bigfoot Sasquatch in his woods and haunted house down there. Our house was built in 1903. The numerous deaths that have taken place in this house, I'll tell you what, you find out about one more of them in this book. I don't want to give any spoilers. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you a spoiler right now. There's a couple, just a dedication. Hold on, my nose is running again. And man, I got another craving. This pregnancy thing, why would anybody want to do this? I'll tell you, this is going to be the first and last time I identify as being pregnant. I'm freaking craving cheddar cheese and freaking salsa right now. Excuse me. I don't want to be gross. All right. Whew, man. I don't know. Would cheddar cheese go better with salsa? That's kind of normal, isn't it? I think it'd go better with Worcestershire sauce. Let's try it out. Let's do a taste test. As my beautiful bride dearly, aka, wait a minute, 5-second rule. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. All right, here's a cultural education for you. You know how we got that 3-second rule here in the U.S.? I changed it to the 5-second rule because I'm almost 50 now and I'm not as fast as I used to be. In the Philippines, where my beautiful bride dearly, aka Giggly Girl, is from, their superstition is if you drop food on the ground, you look up, and as long as there's not an airplane flying above it, you can still eat it. True story. Now, how do these superstitions come to be? I'd say in that one is most places there's no planes anywhere, and they're hungry and they need the food. Just a guess, just an uneducated guess. Over here, that was good. Just don't quite hit the spot though. Let's try that Worcestershire sauce. This time without getting it on my freshly shaven face cuts. That hits the spot. Sure does. Except for that little ant I just spit out. I guess it didn't take that ant 5 seconds to get on that piece of cheese. Alright, I'm fine. I'm chilling. I dedicate 2 stories into here, and you read about it in the preface, which is actually going to be read September 30. There's an extra story. The first one takes place on September 30, and then there's one for each night of Halloween or October. But I mentioned somebody in the opening, and I ended up going through here and dedicating 2 of these stories, very worthy, much so, to this guy. Because we have gotten to a point in society to where it is offensive to have a sense of humor. It's just terrible. Well, there's 2 stories in here. I don't know where they are. Dedicated to somebody very influential for me growing up. Thank God. George Carlin. Who remembers George Carlin? There are 2 stories in here, very much written tongue-in-cheek, to ridicule the current state of affairs and the times in which we live. George Carlin, as I say in the book, was not just a comedian and a societal critic. He was a freaking prophet. He saw this nonsense coming, okay? I'm getting to it. Has to do with my pregnancy. Let's get back to another story. What? Just a peek? Come on. Okay. All right. Listen. I will randomly flip to a random story at a random portion of the book, and I will randomly read a random portion of a random sentence, okay? Because I know you guys are waiting on this. I think that was the first time we've been zapped in years. They don't want me to get on with the stories. Okay, so let me do this at random. All right, partial sentence. He was out working 80 hours a week to give all those spoiled boomer kids. I know, right? Can you just imagine where that sentence is going? Available on Amazon, print or Kindle, or you can get it with an autograph from our Etsy store. Links in the bottom description box below. Selling all kinds of really neat stuff I'm making in the wood shop, on our Etsy store. The links. Excuse me for a minute. I might have morning sickness. Man, I'm making all kinds of really cool Halloween decorations out of wood and stuff. You can go there and see them. Got to go there to see them, okay? I don't have any with me up here. I didn't bring any to show you, okay? All right, this one is called That One Time at Church Camp. And it comes to us from... Please tell me I brought the last... Yeah, Lynette, okay? Lynette. Okay, thought I didn't bring the last page, but I did. Dear Kevin, my name is Lynette. You may use my first name if you read this or decide to use it in any other form. Here is my story. It was the summer of 1988, and I was 14 years old. So, Lynette, you're like, I was born in 73, so in 88, I would have been 14 that summer, turned 15 in the fall. We're the same age. It was time for church camp. It was a girls-only camp, other than for the leaders, and any men would stay at the main camp away from the girls. People came to this camp from several different communities. The name of the location where the camp was located was 8 Mile, like Eminem's movie. That particular year, we happened to have a skunk problem at camp. Some of the leaders became skunk busters. Ghostbusters was a thing, obviously, at that time. It was fun and funny all at once. Yeah, it reminds me, this is so ironic. What I'm doing here, I guess I'm flirting with getting canceled. Like my man... Bill Murray from Ghostbusters. You talk about irony. Yeah, I remember the movie. How about, whatever. George Carlin is rolling over in his grave, laughing, saying, I told you so, I told you so. Not that I am in any way approving of any inappropriate behavior. We don't know the facts. I'm getting to it. Ugh, starting to crave some blueberries and ketchup. I better finish this up, because I do not want to remain in character long enough to eat that crap. All right. So one night, we returned to our campsite from the main camp, where we'd been for the flag ceremony and all the things that go on at camp. It had ended early because of a pretty heavy rainstorm. We retired earlier than usual. I'm sorry, I have to blow my nose. It's just this time of year, and then the hay collector is bullying some neighbors somewhere for their hay, so he's over there stirring it up. Just get my six. The veil is super thin. Ghosts and everything coming through that damn veil right now this time of year. Dang, man. Freaking place is haunted, man. All right. Okay. After the flag ceremony, we retired earlier than usual. In the tent I was in, there was a camp leader, as was the case for each tent, and I was positioned right next to her and next to the window. We heard a noise outside the tent and assumed that the skunk busters were out there being mischievous. So I reached up and lifted the flap a little to see who it was. It wasn't them. Suddenly, my screams filled the campsite and everyone came running. Kevin, what I saw filled me with terror. It was an evil, green-faced entity. It turned out the skunk busters were not even out that night because of the heavy rainfall. The leaders tried to calm me down. As you could imagine, there were many footprints all around the front of the tent and around the area of the tent. They managed to calm me enough to go back into the tent and try to sleep. The leader next to me kept assuring me it was okay. I was practically laying on top of her because of the terror that was still real. One of the longest nights of my life. The next morning, we decided to see which direction the footprints led. Kevin, there was not a single footprint. They were all gone. It was as if they'd never been there. This sent chills through me again. Needless to say, I was ready to go home. I do not know what it was that had been out there the night before, but it was not human. I can still remember the absolute terror to this day, and it's been 34 years since that night. Wow. So here we are at the beginning of the story. I kind of relate to you by pointing out we're the same age. And then you got to remind me how old, like how long ago that was. Whatever. I asked for it. Okay. Okay. But I've seen and experienced some other things in these past 34 years as well. Some beautiful, some not. If you choose to read this story, I would like to share some more. Please do. God's blessings to you and your beautiful family. I love your stories and adventures. I have been watching your channel since 2017. Right on. Again, I give you permission to use my first name in this. Please feel free to edit it in any way needed to help it make sense the proper way. Best regards, Lynette. Lynette, I'll have you know, I actually edited your story, and I want to thank you for obviously going through and like proofreading it after you wrote it, because there were few edits necessary. And I don't say that to disrespect or demean anybody. Listen, folks, we only have one request. When you send a story, please make sure to go back through and kind of proofread it to the best of your ability. I understand that not everybody is a professional writer or an editor. I get that, but it'll get your story out there quicker. So here's what's going on. Here's why I'm pregnant. Let's go back to the time in which Lynette wrote about. You know, one of the things I miss about those times, and this is probably why I love Halloween so much, you know, and again, selfless self-promotion. Get these, you know, they're worth it. 31 stories for every night. Look at the difference though. Part 2 is so much meatier. I'd pour some Worcestershire sauce on this and taste it if it wasn't my only copy for now. But it was okay to have a sense of humor. People were funny. Nobody got offended at everything. They didn't melt like a snowflake in the sun on a warm winter's day. So here's the deal, right? So we're at my kids' middle school the other day for like open house, and there's a group of us friends, people that have known each other for years, standing around, you know. Is it just me? This is a side note, but here's what I've noticed. Like, we have an only child. He's a boy. And so the other parents that we've come to associate with and come to know on a first name basis and have play dates and stuff with are parents of other boys. And we've noticed, I've noticed, because I'm hyper vigilant. It's part of my, I brought home this thing from Iraq. What do they call it? A souvenir? It's called PTSD. Yeah, obviously. But hyper vigilance, you don't turn it off. So I'm always paying attention to, and I'm making connections. Like the parents, these other groups like that have girls, it's like they're all together, right? So we're standing around, me and this friends group, and we're talking about how, you know, here comes the interesting years. Here comes the challenging years. Puberty, teenageism, you know, middle school, high school. And everybody's kind of bitching and moaning about how terrible it's going to be. I welcome every single day of it. So I'm trying to lighten the mood a little bit, right? So I just say, well, at least we got boys and we don't got to worry about them getting pregnant. Man, half the people almost fell down laughing because they thought it was funny. If you didn't hear that tree knock, you're deaf. 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 Is it DEF? Okay, so anyway, well, the other half are like, looking at me like this. I'm thinking, okay, either they took too many of their meds, didn't take enough of their meds, and I'm thinking of it, man, I need to get in touch with Pfizer Pharmaceutical and suggest the creation of a pill that brings back sense of humor. Seriously, because like people, I could get rich off of that. People need to be medicated on a sense of humor, okay? So I thought, well, maybe they don't get it. And I was like, look, okay, so they can identify as being pregnant, but no matter how much they identify as being pregnant, we don't really have to actually worry about them being pregnant. Well, half of the other half kind of chuckled. They were like, yeah, because they started realizing maybe it was a joke. But the other half of that half that didn't chuckle were pissed. One dude even says, I can't believe you'd say that. Why would you say such a thing? And I said, well, maybe because I'm among a trusted group of friends who kind of know me and knows it's a joke, and I don't have to worry about them outing me on social media so I get canceled. And he's like, you keep on and you're going to get canceled. Well, in proper Crazy Lake fashion, I'm here to cancel myself. You know, all those crazy videos where I talk about my dysfunctional background and history and past. When you take the fangs out of the beast ain't got the fangs to bite you with no more, brah. Man, stop taking yourself so seriously. Man, I can't wait to read these stories in October, especially the ones dedicated to George Carlin. See you for more next time.